everyone, and welcome to iReadit, bringing you your daily dose of the internet for Tuesday, February 27th, 2018. I am Michael Schwahn. Nathan is not here today. We did not have a show yesterday because Nathan was quite sick, and he is still rather sick today, but I decided that I would go ahead and just do the show solo today, and, well, here we are. Standard opening is that if you would please consider supporting this podcast, please go to patreon.com/dailyinternet. Otherwise, you can find this show Monday through Thursday live 6 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube at 6 p.m. Alaska time. And if you have stories you want us to talk about, send them to our subreddit, which is our iRedditcast, or send them to us in an email, which is feedback.ireddit@gmail.com. I've done the show solo probably a dozen or more times in the past. It's just a requirement that happens from time to time, and luckily if I'm here and Nathan isn't, I still can do it solo. Sometimes I find a sub in, but unfortunately if I'm not here, Nathan cannot do the show solo because everything runs through my computer. We've tried to get things set up, but his computer just isn't in line currently to be able to do such a thing as it really even run the show. So another warning, of course, also, if I'm doing the show solo, at least for the people that are watching the video versions on YouTube and Facebook, is that I cannot take a drink of water or rest a moment while Nathan is talking. So you will find moments of time where I am taking a moment to wet my whistle. And with that, with the audio version only, though, if you downloaded this on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere else you can find podcasts, I have taken out that silence, so you probably won't experience those issues. So, we will go ahead and get started then. Welcome back, everybody. I know that we were gone for a while. Our last show was on Thursday. And we didn't have a show, like I said, we didn't have a show yesterday because Nathan's sick. Hopefully Nathan will be feeling better tomorrow. If he's not feeling better tomorrow, then I'll look at filling it in with a couple people that we normally have on a level of retainer to fill in when we need to. Joe McLaughlin says, now guest starring Joseph McLaughlin in the comments. Yes, this is an opportunity for me to play off of the live feeds as much as possible. Mostly because I would be by myself. So the conversation will be very one-sided. Well, probably not. McLaughlin's pretty much on the other side of the coin that I currently lay upon, so he can argue with me plenty. I just won't be able to do it in real time. But in any case, I am good, everybody. I had a really good weekend. We had an incredible game of roller derby on Saturday. My significant other, Jennifer Cruz, her derby name is Athena Latina, and she plays for the Boomtown Derby Dames in Wasilla, Alaska. And they took on the Rage City All-Stars here from Anchorage. The Rage City All-Stars are ranked number 62 in the world, based on the WFTDA, that's the Women's Flat Track Derby Association's worldwide rankings. They got trounced pretty hard. I think it was the final score was somewhere around like 52 to 268 or something like that. And so... But it was a strength factor game, so it was just basically like test your skills against somebody who's better than you. Depending on how good they did, they could have gotten a level of weight on that ranking roster. But either way, they're still going to Hawaii in May, and they will then be participating against several other ranked teams on that roster, which will give them their ranking as well. McLaughlin said, I heard about the Harry Potter themed thing. That is a fundraiser bout that is happening on April 7th. I realize this is the 27th of February, and if you are a skater that happens to be listening and either are in Alaska or might be in Alaska on April 7th, you have until tomorrow night. The sign-up for it closes on February 28th. You can sign up to participate in the Harry Potter The Roller Derby House Cup. Otherwise, if you just want to attend, it is on April 7th. And it's awesome. We did it 2 years ago. Because the state tournament was being run by Boomtown, we didn't do it last year. We are going to do it again this year. It's a ton of fun. The skaters are sorted into different houses: Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, Slytherin. And there's a whole sorting ceremony. And then the teams play against one another. But it's even more than that because... they create this whole Diagon Alley shopping area where there's like tons of souvenirs. You can get wands and butterbeer and all this kind of stuff. Super cool, delicious stuff. And then, of course, the thing that makes the game interesting beyond just regular roller derby is that it's a fundraiser. It's meant to be fun, and you are able to buy and cast spells on the players, which completely changes the way that the roller derby game works. Like, one of the spells causes all the skaters on the track to have to skate backwards. Another one causes all of the skaters from the bench. Like, a team normally has 14 to 20 players. 14 is normally what is rostered, but only 5 are on the track from each team at one time. And one of the spells sends all 14 of them out there. The Killing Curse exists, and the jammer for that team, they have to go onto the other side of the track, and I think it's 20 burpees that they have to do before they're allowed to start participating in the actual jam. And it's a ton of fun. There's a golden snitch. We have one of the skaters. Her name is Revolution Riot. She's this small, like 5'2", 90-pound bullet that is super fast and super dodgy. And they wear this golden leotard and go out onto the track when the snitch is released or purchased. And it then becomes the derby player's job to, instead of catch the snitch, they have to hit the snitch out of bounds, and that's how they get that 150 points. It's a ton of fun. It's great fun. I will be there as the announcer, so if you are in Alaska, have any idea what roller derby is, or maybe even if you don't, if you want to get acquainted with roller derby in a magical fashion, and with the Harry Potter theme, then it's being held at the Curtis D. Menard Sports Center on April 7th. I don't have the exact time. I know that I think it starts around 3 or 4 p.m. So if you are interested in attending such a thing, that is the place to be. And yeah, it's going to be great, good fun, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I enjoyed it immensely the last time. I believe it'll be even better this time around because, well, we already did it once. All right, but we have some news. We, as in me and whoever you are listening right now, I need a new chair. Like, I love this chair. I like that it's pink and it's all comfy and it's a racing bucket seat, which makes it really comfortable, but it doesn't breathe at all. So and this is way too much information for you. By the time I'm done with the show, it's got this little lumbar support thing in it, this pillow right here that only the people in video can see. And it's this nice support for your back, you know, so you don't have back pain, but it doesn't breathe. And so by the time that I'm done with the show, I just have this little sweat spot right in the middle of my back. Hate it. Hate it. Need a new chair, but the chair that I want's way too expensive. So, you know. Whatever. All right, anyway, news. Let's do some news, everybody.
5.
Wow, that was really quiet. No, it's just that quiet. All right, well, oh well. In any case, damn it, there we go. Life imitates art as Disney opens STEM Center in Oakland with that Black Panther money. This was submitted by Stoss52 to our uplifting news. So, Black Panther has been a massive success, like huge money. What is the actual box office for the Black Panther at this point in time? $476.6 million. And that's only after, what, a week? And it's just it'll just keep going and going and going. It's going to be one of the most successful films of all time. It's already in the top 5 films for an opening week, if I remember correctly. That might be fake news, but it's something along those lines. Maybe it's one of the top 5 superhero movies, but I feel like it was something more along there. But it's going to make a crap load of money. Especially because of the number of people that are just so excited about it because of how the movie embraces African culture. I haven't got to see it yet. I believe I'm going to see it on Friday with my mother. So we'll see if that happens. And if it does, I'll let you know. I will let you know what I thought of the movie. But in any case, Disney's just been making a crap load of money off of this, and they decided to start doing something with that money. One of the things they're doing is donating $1 million to the Boys and Girls Club of America to help expand its STEM program. And even beyond that, Disney is going to take additional money and is going to establish a STEM Center of Innovation in Oakland, California. So this is an awesome thing. It's great to see these companies that are just making tons and tons and tons of money to then take that and do good things with it. Where was I? So yeah, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's a great learning program, especially for people that want to get into those fields, which, I mean, those are great fields because, I mean, so much of the world is being modernized, and if you don't know how to program a robot, work on a robot, or how to cure cancer, it's becoming more and more difficult to find a direction in a professional field. Joseph McLaughlin asks, is that U.S. or worldwide? I can double check. Black Panther worldwide box office, and maybe it's not out worldwide yet. I don't know. Let's say that people are saying that's domestic is 411 million. Foreign is 316 million. So worldwide is 727 million right now. So yeah, it's boom. It's flying through the roof right now. It's going to crash past $1 billion, and we'll see when it stops. So good on you, Black Panther, and I'm really glad to see Disney taking all of that money and doing good things with it instead of just sticking it into their pockets. More than 200 Quebec doctors proposed. That's it. Wow. Make a tongue twister out of that. More than 200 Quebec doctors oppose proposed pay raise for themselves. This was submitted by Mad as a Hatter to Our World News. So, one of the things that people are referring to a lot, especially with all of the healthcare problems in the United States, is Canadian healthcare. And, Canadian healthcare is a single-payer system. It's subsidized by the Canadian government. You don't pay anything when you go to the doctor, no matter what you need, whether it's, just a bit of penicillin because you have strep throat or because you twirled your leg halfway behind your neck and cracked it in 19 places. That is not a reference to anything. That is literally just me making shit up. So, but that said, they have a very set budget when it comes to healthcare. It's not privatized, so there is no profit that is gained through the healthcare system. It has a very specific amount of money that is set aside for it. And, like with budgets in almost any other country, the budgets are reviewed and then like, all right, we're going to increase this, lower this, we'll put more money into this. And one of the things the more recent budget came through was an increase in pay to the doctors. Now, normally the doctors who, paid a shitload of money to go to school, of course, is school free in Canada? I don't know. They, make pretty good because they have to pay a lot. And so, but they have more than 250 doctors from Quebec have come out and said, do not give us that pay raise. Instead, they are asking that money should either be spent on the nurses, since the nurses have incredibly difficult working conditions with a very large workload, especially since without an increase in money, they are not getting more nurses to help deal with the increased workload, or just spend it on the front lines of the health system to optimize it and make it more accessible for Canadian citizens. And it's such a great gesture to see. Much like, when what I just got done talking about with Disney using its money for the STEM program and a STEM facility, it's nice to see these doctors who, they do amazing work. It's like science has come so far, especially in the medical field, that like we cannot give our doctors enough, credit for what they do. And yes, I know there's a lot of mistakes that happen in medicine, but there's a lot of miracles that happen through medicine too. But it's still nice to see them not get caught up in it so much that they realize that there is other areas that need attention. Which in this case, is their nurses in the front line and things like that. That is a great thing to, even if the raise, because it's not up to the doctors on whether they get a raise or not. It's up to the budget that's set, and through the entire pay system for Canada, it'll either happen one way or the other. They're just requesting, don't give us the money. Instead of giving us the money, give it to other people. And so they might get the raise anyway, but it is still nice to see them give some level of acknowledgement. So we'll see if they end up listening, and if the Canadian budget ends up being set to actually pay more to nurses or make healthcare even more accessible. But either way, can we take some lessons so that, as a comparison right now, I work for the state of Alaska. I have pretty good healthcare, and pretty good. But at the same time, life in terms of financial situations is not great, considering even as a paralegal for the state of Alaska, I don't actually make good money. I make better money than, like flipping burgers or whatever, but I'm still nowhere near what people would even call like lower middle class, not even close. And so the idea of going to a doctor, like I never went to a doctor when I was like between the ages of like 12 and 17. When I was really young, I qualified for Medicaid. And so, I could go to the doctor when I need to because it was free because my mom made $0. Well, she made money. It just wasn't anything. She was a single mom with 3 kids that raised those 3 kids starting out at $10,000 a year. Power to you, Mom. I love you. You're incredible, and I do not understand how you made that happen, much less bought us Christmas gifts or birthday presents, so power to you. But so when I was real young, I was able to get things through Medicaid. But my mom, did a couple things, started making progress in life, and then eventually she no longer qualified for Medicaid, especially after my brother left because she only had 2 kids then instead of 3. And so I didn't go to the doctor for like 10 years because even from after I left, left the nest, I still didn't want to go to the doctor because I didn't have any money and I didn't have health care. And even now, I have health insurance. I have health care. I make more money than I used to, but it's still so ungodly expensive. I need to go to the doctor. I have asthma, and I need to renew my prescription for my inhaler. I should address a couple other things that are wrong with me health-wise, like my nose, because I've gotten hit in the face a couple times with like soccer balls and stuff, and I have really bad respiratory problems when it comes to my nose. Basically, no matter what point in life it is, I can't breathe, whether it's my lungs being an asshole or my nose. And these are things that probably need to be addressed and need to be fixed, but the sheer financial terror of going to the doctor. I had strep throat last year and the year before that, and to go to the doctor and get what is ultimately like a 50-cent shot of penicillin was $300, and that fucking hurts. So I would really like to see something addressed with healthcare so that, I can go to the doctor when I need to, because fuck. But either way, we'll see what happens. Apparently healthcare is trying to be addressed. Taxes are trying to be addressed. Well, whatever. Our government sucks at accomplishing anything. But, they're trying. They're trying.
3.
Pharma bro Shkreli to be held responsible for $10.4 million in losses by a U.S. judge. This was submitted by JavaGen84 to our news. So, Pharma bro, asshole, Mr. Top-of-the-line, punchable face McGee. God, he's got such a punchable face. Martin Shkreli, that was the guy who raised the cost of an anti-infection drug by 5,000%. Taking the price of the drug from something like $2 a pill to like $200 a pill because he's a fucking asshole. Anyway, well, one of the things he also did while he was the CEO of whatever the fuck company he worked for, because I don't remember and I don't care because he's a dick, he lied to his investors about the hedge funds that he was managing. It's like, oh yeah, they're doing great, making all this money. You want to give my company money, yeah? And they're like, oh, that looks pretty good. Yeah, we do. And he's like, I didn't actually make that money. And they ended up experiencing $10.4 million in losses. Now, he tried to argue like, hey, they experienced a loss at first, but now they've actually made back that $10.4 million, made back their initial investment, and it's still growing. And the judge was like, you still lied. Even if it worked out in the end, you're still a fucking liar. So, I'm going to hold you responsible. Now, he doesn't have to pay $10.4 million out of pocket. That's not how this works. He probably could because he's an asshole that profited off of sick people, off a drug that costs literally fractions of a penny to make, and then charge people $300 a pill for them, or is it like $2,200? I don't know. Way too fucking much. I hate pharmaceuticals. Hate healthcare. God damn it. It pisses me off. Anyway, people's health should not be something for people to profit off of, because then they have no inclination to... Anyway, I won't start yelling about that, even though I already did. He is currently in jail. He was out on bail for, all the bullshit that we'd already talked about, his fraud cases, the wrongful increase of price. on that pharmaceutical, but his bail was suspended, and he was thrown in jail after he put a $5,000 bounty for a strand of Hillary Clinton's hair back in 2016 during the presidential election. So he's currently sitting in prison, and so he won't need to pay $10.4 million. Instead, that's going to be funneled into part of the federal case against him, which will most likely just result in longer jail time. Which is, like, people like Shkreli, they don't normally go to jail. Not normally. Normally they go on, like, 14-year house arrest and just camp out in their fucking mansion, fucking eating grapes and watching Netflix. So it's a punishment, because they can't spend all their money on traveling and enjoying a lavish lifestyle. They have to live in their nice fucking house. But... although, what's her name? Martha Stewart? Like, didn't she actually go to jail over her insider trading case? I don't know. Or did she do the same thing, where she just got to live a nice, comfy lifestyle while being in jail? I mean, you have to pay for house monitoring. It's like $500 a week, which to someone like me is like, oh god, there's no fucking way I could afford $2,000 a month just so I can be at home instead of in prison. But to someone that has millions of dollars, there's like, fuck, okay, what is the cost for me to be on house arrest for the next 12 years? Oh, 116 grand? There you go. I don't care. All right, I'm gonna go play video games now. People be dick bags. Joe McLaughlin says chronic problems should require a visit to renew prescriptions. You know, maybe they don't. I don't know, because I don't have any experience in terms of, I don't have a doctor. I don't have a doctor that I go to because, well, due to never having money to go to the doctor, I never learned how to, like, do the doctor thing. I don't know how it works. Like, I tried once to get a doctor, and I saw somebody once, and then... like, I asked the front desk, like, what do I need to do to make them my, like, primary physician or whatever, and they didn't know, like, what I was talking about. So I don't know how to, like, have, like, a family doctor or whatever the fuck that's called, or how you do that, or how I renew my prescription for my inhaler without having to actually go see the doctor. Because I saw him, like, a year ago, and at the same time when I had strep throat, which is, like, a year ago, and I was supposed to get that inhaler every month. He wanted me to use it, like, every day, and I was like, I've been taking an inhaler for, like, 20 years, guy. I don't need to take it every day. Which maybe I should have listened to the doctor. Again, that's probably me not knowing how the fuck health shit works. Maybe I should have taken it every other night, or whatever the fuck he told me. I don't know. I literally just use it when I can't breathe. So, I don't know. Anyone want to mentor me on how to be a fucking doctor? Because, not how to be a doctor. I don't need to be a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. Anyone want to mentor me on how the hell to do... No, I don't want to say do a doctor, because that sounds naughty. Yeah. Anyone want to tell me how the fuck to do this shit? Because I don't know how, and I'm a 25-year-old man who is... like, I don't get anxiety about many things. I don't get anxiety about work, unless I think I'm in trouble with my boss, because then I'd like to keep my job. I don't get anxiety about public speaking. I can go in front of 1,000 people, 10,000 people, grab a microphone, and do whatever the hell I need to do. I have no anxiety with that. I have an immense level of anxiety. I can call an insurance company over my car getting hit. I can call and talk to, whoever the fuck about a bill. I can talk about anything. That said, if I have to call a doctor, my anxiety level just, like, starts taking off to Mars. And I don't know how to deal with that. So, I don't know. I also don't even know if I need to renew the prescription, because I don't know the full details of the prescription he gave me. Can I just call the people I filled the prescription through and see if my prescription is still valid? Like, I don't know how that works. Do they give prescriptions for a full year? For 10 years? Can they do that? Is it a one-time thing? I don't know. Ignorant. I am ignorant on that matter, and it is irritating and upsetting because I don't like being ignorant. But damn am I. And I've tried to Google it, and boy, because it's one of those things you're supposed to fucking know, right? And I don't know. All right, anyway.
2.
Trump FCC boss under fire for ethics violations. This was submitted by Bender Unit 9000 to our technology. Yeah, enjoy that silence video. Long quaff of water. Yes. Okay. So, National Shit Stain Ajit Pai is under fire recently. Couple things. One is not mentioned here. He's currently under fire, under investigation regarding a change he made to the FCC's rules that significantly benefit the Sinclair Broadcast Media Group, which allowed them to do a merger with fucking somebody, I don't remember who, but it ended up being that between Sinclair and this other company, once they combined, they had control of like 72% of the channels or something along those lines that go into the American homes. So he's under investigation for that. He is also now under fire for something significantly less relevant, like I don't see this one getting very far at all. And I work in a organization that gets people in trouble for things like what he is in trouble for right now. It will mean jack shit if it even gets anywhere. So the National Rifles Association, the NRA, which is why people probably cared about this, because everyone is boycott NRA right now because of all the shit regarding the NRA and their promotion of guns and firearms and the Parkland shooting and stuff like that. The NRA gave an award to Ajit Pai for courage. An award for courage is what it said. Now, people are, debating what the means of he was courageous. Like the being courage under fire, so a ton of people were attacking him and stuff like that over net neutrality, and they're like, good on you for sticking through it and not backing down, essentially. And people are like, so you're cheering him on for ignoring the American people when everyone wanted net neutrality and he said fuck you? That, whatever. I'm not going to get into that is not what's being checked on if he ignored the American people or anything like that. And also, he doesn't have to technically listen to us. It's not a public vote thing. They voted 3-2, and that's why Title II is rolled back. And the whole fight for net neutrality continues on. But he was awarded a vintage musket. And, well, apparently he is not allowed to accept gifts from companies that have policy decision made that roll back sentences, restart. The members of the FCC cannot accept gifts that are over $200 in value from companies that are impacted by the FCC's decisions. They're supposed to be an independent organization, so if he accepts this gift from the NRA, which was impacted by some of the FCC's decisions, then it looks as though he wasn't impartial, that he was biased, that there was incentive behind his decision beyond just right or wrong or what the rule of law was. So you're not allowed to accept those gifts, which is very normal, very standard for most of those offices. Any board and commission. My office isn't allowed to accept anything from anybody because it could look as though there's a level of favoritism involved. So this is very common, very, very straightforward. The question, is, one of the first things being brought up is whether he actually accepted the gift, because they handed it to him and he was like, yeah, rifle. But you can't just give somebody a gun. There has to be a background check before you can even give somebody a gun. And so, unless he already had one, and is the gun actually his at that point? Because right now it's also sitting in a museum under his name. But so is that his gun or not is one question. Joseph McLaughlin said, awards are not gifts, right? Wrong. They are still considered gifts under, at least I can tell you they are still considered gifts under Alaska law. And I think federal law wouldn't be too far off. But if someone gives you a fucking sterling diamond encrusted statue as an award, there's still value to that. And that's really what that comes from. Like, whether you want to call it an award or a gift, the concern is whether you are getting value from somebody from one place to another. So this musket has value. You can call it an award. The award is still them giving him something that has worth. And so one of the first questions is did he actually receive this gift? They gave him an award. The award was this musket, but is it something that is actually in his actual possession? That'll be one of the things that has to be investigated. But the other thing is that I really want to touch on and explain on this is that it's irrelevant. Because this is not something that's going to get Ajit Pai taken out of office. This is not something that's going to affect the decisions that Ajit Pai has made. Well, I guess not just him. There's other commissioners that made it as well. It's not going to do anything. At worst, he will, if he did actually receive the rifle, he will have to give it back, and he might have to pay a fine. Because really, this is largely irrelevant in terms of happening. Like this actually happens quite a bit. The only reason that this is important is because it's Ajit Pai with the FCC and the whole net neutrality shit, and you got a double banger there because it also the gift award is from the NRA, which is like the perfect thing. Like this happens everywhere of like, we want to give you an award, and then we're like, yeah, thanks buddy, that's awesome, and then they like the legislative ethics committee or whoever, you know, comes up and be like, yeah, you can't accept that. Give it back. Oh, okay. So another FCC commissioner is also under fire. He's for the exact same thing, violating an ethics rule, because he openly advocated for the re-election of President Trump. Under the Hatch Act, commissioners, at least for the FCC, are forbidden from advocating for specific candidates. I don't know how that one is handled. That one can probably lead to a request for them to be removed from office. I don't know, though, especially not under federal law. Under state law with my office, which is an independent office, where I'm supposed to be completely separated from political any level of partisanship, it specifically states in statute that they're not allowed to run for office, campaign for office. They can't help with a campaign. They can't do anything for a campaign. They can't give money to a campaign. They can't even go out and say, this is who I'm voting for. They can't do that. They have to stay completely neutral. They can still go vote. And they can give, I think under state law, they can give money to a candidate for president, but they cannot go and say, I want people to vote for this person for president. So I imagine, again, federal law is not too far away from that. I don't know what the punishment is. And a lot of times with situations like this, there's not always a directly stated punishment that they will receive. So I don't know what will happen with that one. Maybe it's a penalty, maybe it's a fine, maybe he's replaced. Don't know. It's also really difficult to actually get somebody on that, especially because of the way that commissioners for the majority of boards and commissions across the nation are appointed. There's normally a level of based on this factor or this factor. I mean, we know that 3 of the members of the FCC are Republican, 2 are Democrats. So based on that information, they already have a level of bipartisanship that they're hooked onto. Same with my office. The way that they're appointed is based on the parties that got the most number of votes in the gubernatorial race. So it's yeah, because of bipartisanship, or in this case something else, not even bipartisanship, considering irrelevant information that I don't need to go into. Because of political stuff, you are in office because of your party. But once you're in office, you're not allowed to have an opinion anymore. So I don't know how that'll work. Either way, though, the thing to watch will be the investigation onto Ajit Pai with the Sinclair Broadcast Media Group to see if he violated anything there, because that could roll back a decision. Because he is the chairman, he did push for that decision. That could be something that gets rolled back and preventing the merger of the Sinclair Broadcast Media Group. But I don't know. I do not know.
1.
President Trump. I would have run into school during shooting even if I didn't have a weapon. This was submitted by ID Unavailable to R, Not the Onion. Yep, that's our president. Okay, so One, I will start out that it's really easy to say things. Saying and doing things are significantly different. Our government proves that every goddamn day. I feel like a lot of governments prove that every day. We're going to do this. Never mind, nobody agreed. We're going to do this. Fuck you. All right. But this one is, you know, so often the president just reminds me of a child. And not like a good child, like a really deranged man baby. And he said recently that, because there was one officer from the Broward County Sheriff's Department that was on scene 4 minutes before. There was 4 minutes of continued shooting while that officer stayed outside. He has since been let go. And then there was also the report that there were several other officers that had arrived and didn't immediately go in an attempt to stop the shooter. And so he was, saying, that is a disgrace, that they are cowards. Then he's, saying that he would have went into the school even if he didn't have a weapon, and that he'd like to, that he believes that many other people in the room would do the same. That said, I don't believe that, because being in that situation, not that I've been in that situation, but saying it and doing it are very different. A lot, like even for officers, you don't know how you're going to react in those situations. You can have lots of training, active shooter training. You can be trained for crisis situations, but it's something that I think a lot of people would like to believe that they would do. But when it comes down to it, survival instincts generally take over, and you go into preservation mode. And it's not something that's, don't be ashamed of it, but also don't lie to yourself about it. A lot of people have liked to criticize the president over the fact that he is dodged the draft 4 times, every single time his excuse being bone spurs, when even at the time there is way to deal with, relieve the pain, and even get rid of bone spurs, even in the heels where he reportedly had them. So, like, oh, he'd run into a school, but those bone spurs can't go to Vietnam. Which, I mean, again, Trump's so easy to criticize. You don't need to be taking these kind of shots at him. The fact that he said this alone, like, already hurts because of so many other aspects to him. Not even as a president, just as a person. Like, the presidency thing is, like, the reason that people are embarrassed and upset by him. But just as a person, he does not exhibit the kind of characteristics that would show that he would behave in such a manner in such a situation. Trump cares about 2 things: himself and his money. Those are what he cares about. He cares about being rich and being, in his opinion, awesome. So that's as far as that goes. I don't believe that he would have ran in, but it also doesn't matter. I feel like this is such a detraction from the conversation that needs to be had, and that is about what happened and how to keep it from happening again. And that's why there are continuously people that are still discussing gun control. It is being fought for just to be talked about significantly every single day, especially from the citizens that are the students that are from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High, 2 of which, Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg, 2 students from the school that have really taken the reins to try to push for a conversation. So we'll see what ends up happening. I mean, we're going to be following it one way or another. They're currently calling for a march on March 24th, so just in under a month. We'll see what comes of that. They're continuously trying to push for, even beyond the aspect of gun control, just for the opportunity to talk about it. Because what happened is there was a deranged individual that legally got a hold of a firearm. Not just people are always like, it was an AR-15. I'm like, that's irrelevant. A deranged individual got a hold of a gun and then proceeded to shoot 14 children and 3 adults with it, none of which survived. Several other people were shot and injured. I believe all of them have survived and are in stable condition. But 14 children, 3 adults shot and killed. That is what matters, and that is what needs to be addressed and figured out a way to prevent. Regardless of what the solution is, it needs to not happen anymore. But we need to discuss possible and probable solutions. I don't give a shit that Trump believes that he would have ran in during that shooting. Doesn't matter. That is a distraction. It's completely irrelevant. Instead, let's talk about what needs to be done to prevent it. To respond to Joe in the chat room, he said, I mean, I would have also risked my life. Not really an unusual sentiment to make. Again, I mean, we like to believe that. But there is no way to say for certain that you would do so. And I'm not trying to detract from your character or the president's character. We don't truly know how we would react in those situations until they happen. So, he says, I mean, running into a school and actually serving in the military are completely different, require different levels of physicality. That's true. And also, I mean, maybe when he was younger, I could see this also, but I don't even see Trump running. Get him a golf cart, and maybe he would have driven the golf cart inside. Joe also says, I agree it's a very off point, but not really a bad sentiment from someone of power. I would also be critical of officers that stayed outside the school. I mean, we only know that one officer stayed outside the school, and his excuse was it was an active shooter situation. I believe the shooter was outside. I had received reports that the shooter was outside. In those situations, my training told me to not proceed inside a building, to instead maintain a position of cover and safety to monitor for the shooter. He continued to believe that the shooter was outside, so he maintained his position. Regardless of how your feelings are about that, that's what he said. He's been let go from the force regardless. So, whatever on that one. There is no confirmation from anybody in any way, because we had video of that one officer that was standing outside for 4 minutes. The other officers, we don't have names. We don't even have numbers. There's no indication that their cars were there. There's no evidence whatsoever to suggest that there was more than just that one officer that was at the school staying, that didn't go inside to try and prevent the shooting. We have nothing on that one. We do on the one officer, and that's why that's already been dealt with. Joe also says, at least you see that it's relevant that an AR-15 was the type of gun used. It is. It is irrelevant, because it could have been almost any type of gun. Now, I understand that the AR-15 is used as like the boogeyman when it comes to firearms. That there's several other long rifles that are also used or could have been used in these situations. There's a good number of them. The AK-47, the SCAR, these are both guns that would have done the job just as well, as bad as that is to say. And there's not a small number of them that could have done the job. And like the other part of that is in like the benefit. Okay, I don't know how else to say that. The power of long rifles like the AK-47 Kalashnikov, the AR-15, is because, one, they have a longer range of accuracy. But the other thing that people are talking about is their rate of fire, which I don't understand either, because they're semi-automatic rifles. I understand with illegal modifications or bump stocks, you can turn them into automatic rifles, but the fact is they are semi-automatic. They are only supposed to shoot as fast as you pull the trigger. But pistols work the same way, and when you are shooting fish in a fucking barrel at a school, you can do a lot of fucking damage with a pistol if you are even halfway decent with it. So many people are like, let's ban assault rifles, and I'm like, God, that doesn't fix the problem, though. And that's the problem, is that no one answer I mean, I guess technically, if you were literally able by some fucking magical miracle to remove all 300 million firearms from the public in the United States, that would do a very, very good job of significantly reducing the problem, especially because once you hit that point, the price of weapons, like, you can still get them, but on the black market, their price just soars through the fucking roof. You can get a assault rifle. Well, you can get a long rifle. I remember wanting. I still really, really like and appreciate the engineering that goes into an AK-47 rifle. That is an incredible weapon. Its design is incredible because of the science that went into it. And you could buy one in Oklahoma for $300 from the gun shop where I grew up. It might have went up since then, but either way, it was a cheap as fuck weapon. And with those long rifles in areas that have extremely strict gun laws, to get one on the black market is normally minimum $10,000 and up, at least from what little research I have done. And I can tell you what, I could make $300 happen. I could make $1,000 happen. Most people could. Like, you may not, like, it may fuck you financially, but if this is your goal, you don't give a shit if it fucks you. Like, you're like, fuck, I'll just fucking sell this shit and, load this credit card up, boom, $1,000. Woo! I could not make $10,000 happen. I don't believe most people could make $10,000 happen. So, I understand where restricting these weapons would help, but also it doesn't completely solve the issue. I'm also going to bring it back to the CNN town hall that was held last week, that had I don't even remember the other two guys' names that were there. Because three of the lawmakers from Florida were there, one of which was Senator Marco Rubio, who is a Republican, and two Democrats whose names completely escape me because goddamn their answers sucked. And then there was the sheriff of the Broward County Police Department and Miss Loesch, speaker from the NRA. If you have not watched it, I cannot recommend watching that CNN town hall enough, because in my opinion, it was incredible. I thought it was in a lot of ways. There was also some things about it that were depressing and made me irritated. But it was still it's still a good thing to watch. And I would like to give an extremely large amount of kudos, credit to Senator Marco Rubio, considering he had just, like, 2 days prior, voted against a ban on several long rifle weapons, and so he was literally feeding himself to the wolves. But on the same front, he was the only one that had relevant answers to give. Because, like, somebody had asked one of the Democratic lawmakers, like, what are you going to do about this? And he's like, well, we're going to ban all the guns. And everyone was like, wow, yeah! And then, like, every single time he was asked a question, every time, both of them, every single time, they would go, so this is the question you asked, and I'm going to turn that to let's ban all the guns. Wow, yeah! And it's like, oh, God, you have literally said the same answer for 6 questions in a row. That is not the question they asked. They asked about how am I supposed to go to school and feel safe. Well, we're going to ban all the guns. That does not help them on Monday. Now, that said, there's the real answer is that there's no way that anybody could ensure you a level of safety going back to school after your school had been the target of a mass shooting. There's no way, really, in that short of time, to give you any level of safety or security. But I understand that that's not an answer that they wanted to give, and that's not an answer that the students asking questions wanted to hear. But if you have not watched it, I really recommend watching that CNN town hall. A lot of people were extremely critical of Rubio. I feel unjustly so. He was in a room full of people that wanted nothing else but to see every single gun banned, and he talked further about, like, the steps of how to actually go about such things. He gave real answers, and I definitely give him a lot of commendment, if that's a word, for that. I really recommend watching it. At least the first 45 minutes, which is the questions for the 3 lawmakers that were there. People like, Rubio got rolled over, he got trounced on, and I don't agree. I think he did an incredible job, and I recommend watching it. To respond to the chat room, Cho McLaughlin said, fun fact, Chinese AK-47s are designed to withstand hotter rounds in an effort to overheat Russian AKs. Their ammo caches were filled with hotter rounds. That's hilarious. Joe says, armed guards in schools. See, here's one problem with that. is that a very, very large amount of people, including myself, I am not comfortable with children just being surrounded by guns. I don't feel like that is something that they should necessarily need to be desensitized to. I don't feel like that is something that should be normal in public schools in the United States. If a private school wants to do that, that's fine. Also, like Columbine, Virginia Tech, and even Parkland at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, they had armed guards. But there's one problem, is that one, again, like we talked about earlier, you don't know how you're going to react in these situations. Two, they are not compensated very well for what they're expected to be doing, because I think ultimately the expectation is that it won't happen. And three, these schools are really big. They are very large, with multiple entrances, a large campus, several grounds. The one officer that was there that got in trouble, he was at one end of the school and believed the shooter was at the other end of the school on the football field. That is a long way to get, especially when you don't know where they are. And that was an officer, not even the armed guard that was at the school. But so it can be extremely difficult and dangerous for, anybody, even the officers when they go in. And also, what do you, does that mean we need to have, a dozen of them at every school? One, that's a lot, especially, when there's other ways to prevent it. And, I mean, not to deflect it to another direction, but it is a relevant question of how the fuck do we pay for that? Because schools already have the shittiest funding. And I'm not being like, we need to pay our teachers more. We do need to pay our teachers more, but I don't want to make that argument of our teachers already don't get paid. The question is, how do we pay for it? Flat out. If that is the answer and that completely solves this so this never happens again, okay. But how do we pay for it? Because, face it, this is America. That's how the world works, is that it has to be paid for. Also, like I said, you will have a huge amount of pushback because that is not something that should be normalized. That should be the norm. As I've said before, that countries that have posted armed guards that have assault rifles of their own just sitting on the corner, those are normally very fascist nations. And I think it'd be best if we avoided such appearances, even if it is for the level of protection, when there are other avenues to potentially try first. Maybe it's a stopgap, maybe it's a Band-Aid, I don't know, but I don't think that's the ultimate solution, because there are other avenues to take. So, yeah, that was a long section. Always is when it comes to guns. And anyway, oh God, and more of it. We're gonna go into one of the things that I cared about in the last 24 hours, and I have a couple other things too. But the GOP is now threatening to use their legislative powers to force companies into giving discounts to conservatives. This was submitted by Pretty Terrible to Pretty Terrible. Fuck you, person. To Resist, and. I hate headlines like this because, yes, there are a large number of Republicans that are members of the NRA. Yes, there are a large number of Republicans that are opposed to gun control. That said, this is one person. Now, that said, it's an important person. It is the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Casey Cagle, who said he would not support a bill that would give Delta any level of mass break until the airline reversed its decision to end its partnership with the National Rifle Association, which... that is a gross abuse of power. You can't do that, you disgusting individual. That is not how this works. You can have the conversation, but you cannot threaten people, especially in America where capitalism is what everything is supposed to be based around, because you don't like that they didn't want to do business with someone else anymore. So, yeah. You're disgusting. I hope you are either removed from office or are not reelected whenever your reelection comes up, because regardless of where you land, that is not the way that you conduct business in America, especially when it comes to politics and especially when it comes to delicate situations like this when it comes to gun control. And also, the announcement from Delta of cutting their partnership with the NRA was, and really, I understand that it's technically taking a side, but they said we are ending our partnership with the National Rifle Association because we want to remain a neutral party and have no involvement with the discussion going forward. Which I guess separating yourself from the NRA kind of makes a statement of where you want to be on that discussion. But they're also not opposing the NRA or opposing anything. They're just like, we just don't want to be involved. Leave us alone. we're not talking about it because we just want to fly people places. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Joe in the chat room says there are lots of schools that have locked doors during school hours. I would say one per every major hallway. I would say use military budget. I mean, locked doors, it depends on the doors. The school that my daughter goes to, the doors are locked after like 9 a.m., but that said, the front doors are glass, and I don't believe that they're like super safety glass. Maybe they are. So cool. That makes me feel better, but I don't actually know. I mean, it's like, if somebody wants to get in, they're going to get in unless you really have this really secure lockdown, and all it takes is an open window to ruin that. And as far as using the military budget, maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's an option, but at the same time, God, like, there's not to detract from that statement, but damn, we have other problems in our military that we need to address before we look at adding anything to it. But, I mean, maybe. Yeah, I mean, the military budget is massive. It's super inflated. If we can use some of that inflation to try and keep the nation itself safer, I mean, sure, maybe. Again, I don't know. I don't believe it is the correct solution. Maybe it's part of a possible solution. But I don't know. It's a difficult thing altogether. The other thing that I cared about that not many of you will care about, but I fucking care about it, damn it, is that, me and Nathan are super nerds. You know this because one of the things that Nathan almost always cares about in some level is video games, as well as myself, or Dungeons & Dragons, or anime, or something like that, because we are fucking nerds and we like it. So I'm going to give you some nerd shit real quick, and if you want to stop listening right now, I understand. But an anime that I like a lot, called Danmachi, also known as Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, has been approved for an official season 2 as well as an original movie, and I'm super fucking stoked because that anime is hilarious and awesome. It's the name is not nearly as indicative of what it's about. I'll give you a real quick rundown. There's a city. There's this massive tower in it. The tower has a dungeon underneath it that goes on for seemingly forever. Individual floors. There's monsters that spawn endlessly like it's a fucking video game. The adventurers go in, kill the monsters, get these magic stones. It's money. Huzzah, you have a community. It gets complicated because the complicated part of it is that the gods are no longer in heaven. They are down on earth. And they have these families that they surround themselves with that they train up and make adventurers stronger to go into the dungeon, to go to deeper floors where stronger monsters are so they can get better shit. There's the story. The story is about a dude who is a member of a family that is broke and sad, and he has all these aspirations to be a hero. And so, yeah, it's a good show. That's all. I won't go on too much farther about it. I'm just excited because I watched it like 2 years ago, and then I realized it only had one season, and that season is like, oh, we're literally only halfway done with the story. Fuck you. And that was extremely depressing. So, it's been approved for a second season, as well as an original movie by the original author, and I'm super excited about that. Sarah asks, where's my annoying brother? He is not annoying. He is a delightful individual who is quite sick right now. That's why we didn't have a show yesterday. He was sick. He is still sick today, so I am covering the microphone with all of my slobbery spit from talking too much without taking a break, and hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. If not, you might just be stuck with me again, or I will call in one of the couple of people that I do keep on the back end in case we need to fill some shit, mostly when Nathan's gone. Because Nathan is a very unhealthy individual that treats himself very unhealthily, who needs to eat better, but I understand that's difficult because he doesn't make a lot of money and his rent is overpriced because welcome to America. He also needs to get more sleep and eat and maybe get a little bit of exercise so that he can just be a little bit healthier in general. But that is a criticism of a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends that I love a lot, and I hope he is doing well. So, at that juncture, though, we will go ahead and begin to get out of here, especially because I am by myself, and I fucking managed to make this goddamn shit go for an hour. I blame you, Joe. I don't blame you. I just like talking. Okay, we're going to get out of here. Everybody, if you would please consider supporting this show, help this show grow, help us keep going. Nathan needs a new computer. We're saving up funds from the Patreon for that. We have other things that we want to do. I need more time because we're going to design some merchandise for a couple shirts that you are going to have come out. As a couple, I don't think there's anything wrong with me giving you some of the ideas that we have going forward. If you want to steal them and sell them before we can, damn, I guess. Sick is something that me and Nathan say a lot, especially when there's something awesome. Sick! So we're going to try and figure out how to design a cool sick shirt. Another thing we say is sucks to suck. And that will be out there. Nathan has requested a shirt that literally just says shirt on it. So, one of those real mundane jokes of simplicity. Before Nathan got his current job, he was a very large advocate. Well, he still advocates for the legalization of marijuana, but he partook quite a bit before his current job. And one of the things that we would always make a joke about is, are you allegedly doing things? I allegedly partake. I allegedly went and bought some today. And so we would like to see a allegedly shirt of some form. Not exactly sure what else it will say. We would like to see that be made as well. But that falls on me to do the graphics design. And I'm real busy with life, as well as just trying to enjoy what downtime I have. So I'll try and get my fucking happy ass on that. Otherwise, though, please consider supporting us, patreon.com/dailyinternet. If you can spare $1 a month or $5 a month, whatever you can spare, send it our way. If you want to call it our Christmas gift every year, you're like, I'll give you $5 every month, $60 throughout the year. Boom. That's the same as if I bought you a goddamn brand new video game. Instead, I'm going to support this show, help you grow. Call it a Christmas gift. Call it a birthday gift. Call it both. We don't care. We just would love to have your support so that we can continue to help this. Joe says a shirt of that off-center picture frame. That can happen too. We just want to see this show continue to grow. If you want to help us grow in other ways, get this show in front of other people. We do as much as we can realistically within our limits to be able to push and promote this show. Lots of things on Instagram and Twitter and sharing it where we can. But if you do it, you have a group of friends that we don't know yet, and we would like to know if they would like to see this show. Share it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are at iReaditCast on all of those if you are not currently following us. We also have the show live on Facebook and YouTube with an archive on Facebook and YouTube of the video versions of the show. Share those around if you'd like. If you want to just show somebody the audio, you can download it on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play, and probably anywhere else. If you find it anywhere else that it's not currently, let me know and I'll figure out how the fuck to get it on there. Just to share the show around. Word of mouth is very powerful and help this show grow. Otherwise, I am on social media at Schwahn Michael, and Nathan is at Bimmenstein. You can submit stories that you want us to talk about by going to our subreddit, which is our iReaditCast, or send us a email, which is feedback.ireadit@gmail.com. That's it. That's it. We're done. We're done. That's it. I'm done. I'm out of here. That is your 435th dose of the internet. I am Michael Schwahn. Nathan Wood is sick, and I've decided I'm not going to use that don't get eliminated thing anymore, even though we really like it, because XMC is awesome. But we need something else. So I don't know. We'll just go with this one for the night.
Fuck no.
Have a good night, everybody. Bye.